Welcome to the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network. I am the Gothic Rose. You can find me live every Wednesday on TikTok at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another terrifying tale. And you can catch up on Spotify and YouTube, with Spotify having a little more content that goes slightly deeper into some conspiracy theories. If you have a story you'd like to share, you can send me an email at welcometothedenpodcast@gmail.com. But now let's get to the daily dive in 5 and find out what fresh hell is waiting for us today, December 12th, 2024. And it has to do with the current president-elect, who is causing global headlines and headaches. There is so much to discuss, including the economic fallout from these mass deportation proposals, and they could really cause a recession or even another Great Depression. Trump has announced that Carrie Lake is going to head Voice of America, a move that has sparked controversy given his previous attacks on the organization. But if he's nominating her, those attacks, well, to me, that kind of goes hand in hand because he doesn't do anything by accident. Now, Donald Trump has also made ambiguous statements about supporting Israel's annexation of the West Bank, which could have significant implications for the region. And the United Nations is bracing for Trump's return with concerns about potential funding cuts and policy shifts. I'm sure they're concerned about NATO as well. And despite threatening massive tariffs on Chinese goods, Donald Trump has invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to his inauguration, signaling a complex diplomatic stance. I believe he also invited Viktor Orban. I'm wondering if he invited Kim Jong-un, Putin, and Assad, and maybe Bibi Netanyahu. Let's see. Now, let's get back into what's going on with Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has warned that Americans are beginning to realize the economic impact of President-elect Donald Trump's proposed tariffs on Canadian goods. Trudeau emphasized that these tariffs would make life more expensive for Americans, and has hinted at possible retaliatory measures, which we found out from Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He has threatened to cut off energy supplies to the United States if Trump imposes the tariffs. Ford stated that Ontario, which exports significant amounts of electricity to the U.S., would use every tool available to protect its interests. And I used to go to Niagara Falls quite a bit. I know exactly where that power plant is. That was the one that had the fire in it back in 2003. And I was stuck in a dressing room trying on my wedding dress. And I was with my ex-husband at the time. My husband was with his ex-wife, stuck on their honeymoon in Aruba. Really weird story. Just had to throw that in. But this had serious implications. And that was only 24 hours. And it was a fire. It was accidental. Could you imagine this being deliberate? We would have nothing, and it's freezing. And also, in a recent social media post, Trump referred to Canada as a state and Trudeau as its governor, further escalating tensions between the two countries. This comment has been met with criticism and has added fuel to the ongoing trade dispute. So I'm not sure why Trump is being an agent of chaos the way he is, but he is. Now, here is one of the better stories to come out of everything. So the upheaval in Syria and all of these prisoners being released, men, women, children that were prisoners for years, months, weeks. You could tell they hadn't seen sunlight in days. They're going into tunnels. They're looking in secret underground spots for more cells and prisoners. And they found Travis Timmerman, an American from Missouri, after being freed from these prisons, he had been detained for over 6 months after entering Syria without permission. Timmerman was on a pilgrimage to Damascus for spiritual purposes when he was arrested. His release came after the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime, which led to the liberation of many detainees. Timmerman described his prison experience as relatively mild, stating he was never beaten and was allowed to use a phone to contact his family. He's been trying to make his way out of Syria, heading towards Jordan, so he doesn't seem to be as affected by all of this, but again, he was on a spiritual journey. So that is a great story to hear all of these people being freed. And I was watching Jon Stewart saying, why are all of these people taking chairs from the palace? And I figure I would too if it was the only thing left. If everyone else took all the good stuff, I would want that Syrian Assad palace chair sitting in my living room as a trophy. Now let's pop back into the United States and talk about a little gossip. So, Kimberly Guilfoyle, ex-wife of Gavin Newsom, and Donald Trump Jr., son of the current president-elect, have broken off their engagement. Now, they have been engaged since 2020, but they recently split, and this was before the election, but they didn't want the news to come out until after the election. Why? Because Kimberly Guilfoyle has been nominated to be the ambassador to Greece by Trump. So what better way to get rid of your son's ex-fiance than to send her to Greece? Since then, Don Jr. has been seen with Bettina Anderson, a socialite from Palm Beach, and reports suggest that they've been dating for about 6 months. So it's saying that Kimberly Guilfoyle has moved on and is now preparing for her new role as ambassador. What do you think of that? It's just, they're like night and day, Kimberly Guilfoyle and Bettina Anderson. Bettina Anderson looks like a socialite, and Kimberly Guilfoyle looks like she had one too many injections. Just my opinion, but I wouldn't be the Gothic Rose if I wasn't going to be a little cynical and sarcastic. So that is the Daily Dive in 5. Thank you for joining me in the den. I will see you on the next episode of the Dark Entertainment Network.